Okay, thank you for the drum intro. Hi, everybody. Dear friends, we're gathered here tonight to talk about delicious Haggadah tidbits.
Do you want to be in landscape or do you want to be orientated?
That's just how the practice. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the last Tuesday night class before Pesach. We'll pick up again after Pesach.
Sideways.
Maybe you're off, like whatever is off.
We just need it against something. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Ah, that was crazy. Okay, guys, now we got rid of that craziness. We're gonna do tonight, I called it delicious Haggadah tidbits, because that's what we're gonna try to do. So the idea tonight is just to get lots, as many as we can, of short ideas, tidbits, a little bit of halacha, a little bit of, I don't know what to call it, drashas, and a little bit of chassidus, and a little bit of just nice ideas, and a little bit of other stuff that's hopefully going to enhance my Seder. I hope it's going to enhance your Seder. Lots of different ideas. As always, welcome questions. If I'm able to answer, I certainly will. So let's see. First, I want to just start off with a couple customs for Passover in no particular order and no particular reason that I'm sharing them per se, but a couple, I guess, somewhat random customs. Then we're going to go straight into the Haggadah and talk about some delicious Haggadah tidbits. So number one, some of the custom, the Belz Chassidim. Maybe the reason I mention this is because actually Tzippa's sister and her family are Belz Chassidim. Belz has a minhag, a custom, that they don't eat carrots on Pesach.
What?
Yeah, such a thing exists. They don't eat carrots on Pesach. It most likely traces its way back to Europe when probably carrots were transported with wheat or something like that. Okay, now you know Belz Chassidim don't eat carrots on Pesach, or it might be even that some do, some don't. I'm not sure. Okay, another custom.
Okay, thank you.
Here's an interesting one. Some people don't eat garlic on Pesach. I know what you're saying, but garlic. I love garlic. Why can't I have garlic? The answer is you can have garlic. I'm not talking about halacha, about Jewish law. I'm talking about customs. So some of the customs not to eat garlic on Pesach. And the reason, what are those like memes where they tell you like, and the reason why was shocked. So some don't eat garlic on Pesach, and the reason why will shock you. Well, judging by the looks on your faces, it actually won't shock you. But I'll tell you anyway. Rambam, we all love Rambam, Maimonides. Rambam writes that a person with bad breath. Let me take a step back. There is a mitzvah in the Torah. There's a mitzvah to go to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem 3 times a year. What are the 3 times a year?
Pesach,
Shavuos, and Sukkot. 3 times a year. Aliyah L'Regel. The 3, what do we call them festivals? Shalosh Regal. How do you call that in English?
pilgrimages.
Pilgrimage festival. Thank you. Now, that's a mitzvah. Now, we don't do that nowadays because we don't have the temple. But the mitzvah still exists. Such a mitzvah to do it. We don't do it nowadays. Fine. So Rambam writes that if you, not you, but if a person happens to have bad breath, they are exempt from the mitzvah of going to Jerusalem the 3 times a year if they have bad breath. Why? I guess because you're traveling in large group. What does bad breath mean? I don't know.
No, what's going on here?
What do you mean what's going on here?
We're literally talking about bad breath.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. We'll talk about that.
Should we be giving out Listerine with the matzah?
Doesn't
We have
sound-
matzah to give to everybody. I should give Listerine with it? What are you saying?
I'm not against.
Okay. So according to Rambam, you do not have to make that pilgrimage the 3 times a year if you have bad breath. Therefore, some people have the custom not to eat garlic on Pesach for that very reason. They don't want to be one of those people with bad breath. You could debate if garlic actually is bad breath or not. Let's not go into that. Therefore, they don't eat garlic on Passover because Passover is one of the 3 pilgrimage festivals. So therefore, they don't eat garlic then, indicating they're like, hey, we're ready. We're ready to go to, yes.
All right. Wouldn't that also apply to Shavuot then?
I was hoping you would ask that. That's all. I was hoping you would ask it. Oh, I have an answer also.
Okay.
The answer is that you're right. Really, it should apply also to Shavuot and Sukkot. However, really, we don't have the mitzvah nowadays anyway. The mitzvah doesn't actually apply. So this idea is like a zecher. It's like a small little act that we do just to remind ourselves that there is a mitzvah to go to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem 3 times a year. So this is not like an actual halacha or anything like that. It's an idea to remind us of the temple.
What about like red onion?
For 1 second. So therefore, those who have this custom chose of the 3 holidays Passover to keep this custom. Why? Why did you choose Passover? If you're choosing only one, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, to remind ourselves about, oh, better not have bad breath because you're supposed to go to the temple in Jerusalem. Why would you choose Passover to refrain from eating? And not Sukkot. By Sukkot, we would say, I'm not going to come? God forbid. The answer is very simple. Because on Passover, anyway, we know Jewish people.
I mean, I was just thinking there's a whole bunch of things we can't eat anyway, so like, we're not add one more to the list.
Bingo.
Oh, okay.
Jewish people, anyway, go Meshugana, don't. Jewish people, anyway, go Meshugana on Pesach, so we add one more thing, can't eat garlic either. Okay. Again, you can eat garlic if that's your family custom. I'm just throwing out a random custom. Okay, radishes. Some people don't eat radishes, and you know why?
Because it's radical.
I like that. I like that. But the answer is that I have no clue. Some people don't eat radishes and no reason is given. Okay, move on. Potatoes.
Wait, Rob, this year is just minhagim, random minhagim?
What?
This year is random minhagim?
No, we're starting with a few random minhagim there. And then we have some ideas, and we can also, if you want me to speak about something specific, we can do that too. But I prepared a few ideas, we'll get there.
Why did Rambam say you shouldn't go if you have bad breath? Is it because it's like unholy? So you have bad breath?
That's a good question. No, because when you're making that pilgrimage, you're in groups with a lot of other people around as well. You don't want to turn people off. It's not so gishmak.
It's like
exciting.
how bad
Like the
would
dude
your
next
breath
to you on the
have to
subway.
be
Yeah, pretty bad.
for everyone to smell it? It's usually like if you just like, you got to be pretty close to someone to smell their breath.
So, yeah, we're going to business selling Listerine. Okay. Now, potatoes. Get this. Potatoes. I know we, and by we, I mean, in particular, Ashkenazi Jews are living on potatoes on Pesach. However, get this. The Tzanzir Rav, who was a big tzaddik, said that there was a rabbi named Avraham Danzig. Avraham Danzig, maybe you heard of him, maybe you didn't. He wrote a halacha book. He actually wrote more than one. And one of the books he wrote is called Chaye Odom, The Life of Man. That's the name of his book. I have it in my house. Chaye Odom. Rabbi Danziger, said that you're not allowed to have potatoes on Pesach because they are kitniot, if you're Ashkenazi. You're not allowed to have them. So the Tzanzir Rav remarked, wait 1 second, that it's remarkable. Listen to me, listen. The Tzanzir Rav said that it's astonishing that the book he called is Chaye Odom, the life of man, yet paradoxically, he forbade eating potatoes on Pesach, which are the life of man, Ashkenazi men and women, on Pesach. Don't worry, we do not follow that opinion. By the way, he also said, this one gets straight to my, this is like trigger, this is very triggering for me what I'm about to say. Can I say like personal? He also said you can't have coffee. Coffee is also kidneys. Why would someone say such a thing?
So it's bee.
Oh, and newsflash, coffee is actually not a bee. It's not a bee. It's actually the seed of a cherry. Anyway, so don't worry. We don't follow that opinion not to eat potatoes on Pesach. We don't follow the opinion not to eat coffee either. Fine. Some people don't eat fish on Pesach. I have a friend actually here in Queens who doesn't eat fish on Pesach because back where his family originated from in Europe, the fish was transported packed with wheat, so they stayed away from it. Okay, some people don't even drink whiskey or vodka that's kosher for Passover with a good hechsher on it. They still don't drink it. Why not? Well, different reasons given. One reason given is from the Mezritcher Maggid, who was a disciple of the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement. He pointed out that the Zohar says that matzah has different names for it. And one of the names of matzah is Michla de Mehenusa, which, I'm sorry, Michla de Asavasa. The first thing I said is also true, but I'm trying to get a different point. Michla de Asavasa. It's Aramaic, it means the bread, the food of healing. It's medicinal bread. That's what the Zohar says about matzah. Matzah is medicine. And everyone knows, said the Mizrich Maggid, that when you're taking medicine, you don't take alcohol with it. So that is not meant to jest. For that reason, some people don't drink kosher for Passover alcohol. I don't mean wine for sure. Kosher for Passover alcohol, Slivovitz would be the most classic of those types. Nowadays they have arak and they have all sorts of things. Okay. Now, that's for now for the minhagim, for the customs. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Too much or too little? Don't answer. Or just right. That's the correct answer, by the way. It's just right.
Said not an answer.
What is the meaning? Huh?
I was gonna say, I have a fun custom that we do.
Please share.
By Dayenu,
Yeah.
we grab scallions and just start
Oh, you
whipping
did that?
each other.
Yeah. It's such a Spanish custom.
Yeah, like Dayenu, when the Egyptians enslaved us, they whipped us, so.
Yeah. Some
Just
Sfardim
take out
also.
grandma.
Some Sfardim also get up and put like a little pecker over their shoulder and walk around the table. Walk around the table during the
My
Seder.
siblings would do that to me. It was not Pesach, but they just did that to me.
They would just beat you with random things. Yeah, I do that. Okay, listen, I have a serious question. Everything I've said is serious so far, by the way. What is the meaning of the word Haggadah?
Like
What's the most read book in the entire world?
Bible.
Don Quixote?
Bible. That's quite true.
Harry Potter.
King James Bible is the most.
The Bible is probably the most read book in the world. What about the most read book that was written by a person?
Agatha Christie.
Like,
I feel like
Harry
I've heard-
Potter.
Like a murder mystery?
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably the Haggadah
Yeah, the answer is that I don't know, but I would think it's the Haggadah.
Harry Potter.
or Harry Potter.
Please. How old is Harry Potter? How many years? 20 years?
20.
Oh, you talking about how many people who are alive that have read it? You just mean like the number of people
the whole series?
outside.
Are we talking about every book of the whole series, or are we talking about each book individually?
Oh, so he has
Or the whole
a
series.
Talmudic mind. He wants to know, do you mean all of them or do you mean only
But the
certain?
Haggadah is just a Jewish thing, right?
Sure is.
So,
Better believe it.
I mean, we make up a very small percentage of the world, so there's no way that's the most read book.
Okay. Like I said, it's not a scientific
Look,
question.
Maxwell Coffee has been offering it for free for years.
But in all seriousness, it may be the most Jewish read book. Don- Okay. Don Quixote. I actually wrote that. I actually wrote that.
Did anyone
Check
hear
it
me
out
say
on ChatGPT. Okay, listen. Hebron, what does the word Haggadah mean? One of the most read books. Certainly one of the most read books amongst Jewish people. Who hasn't read the Haggadah? Who hasn't gone to a Seder? I'm sure, unfortunately, there actually are Jews that have never been to a Seder. There are such Jews, unfortunately. But most Jews that I've met in my life, most have been to a Seder at least once, are familiar at least a little bit with the general outline of the Haggadah, matzah, maror, the sandwich. People know this stuff. What does the word Haggadah mean?
To tell.
To tell?
The teller.
Very good. To tell. To relate or to tell. Anything else?
Well, isn't it like the tail, possibly?
Yeah, to tell, like you said, yeah. It could also mean the Avudraham, one of my favorites, Sargon. Not that we're choosing favorites. Avudraham says it could also mean to praise. So the Haggadah, when we sit at the Seder and we're reciting the Haggadah, we're not only reciting and telling the story, we're also praising. We're praising God for taking us out of Egypt. We're praising God for bringing us to this moment that we're able to have a Seder. It's like the Talmud says in Masechta Sotah, that sometimes you thank God for being able to thank God, for being able to say thank you. So thank you for allowing us to say thank you. So the Haggadah is praising Hashem, praising each other, praising life itself as well. Okay. When we make Kiddush, which by the way, of all the different versions of the Haggadah, I got a new Haggadah, I ordered a new Haggadah from Israel, because I couldn't find it in America. I ordered it from Israel, and the form online, I was a little bit nervous, I couldn't quite tell if they were actually gonna ship it to me or not. So I called them at the printing house in Jerusalem, and they picked up the phone. So I said, Shalom, I want to order the Haggadah, and can I give you my credit card? Can you send it to me? Yeah, no problem. Anyway, it arrived this week. It's a wonderful Haggadah. And he has pictures of the oldest Haggadah printed there. And he has a whole analysis based on many, many different sources about like different variations and versions of the Haggadah. You know what every single Haggadah begins with? Kiddush. Kiddush. Every Haggadah begins with Kiddush. When we make Kiddush at the Seder, here's some trivia. Which mitzvahs are we doing? Oof, you like that one, huh?
Yeah.
Which mitzvahs?
Okay, well, Kiddush,
4 cups.
also Kiddush,
Kiddush.
generally.
Very good.
Is there a Shekiana thrown in there? I feel like we definitely got one in there.
Like just toss it in, right? Why not?
Wait, don't do that like 10.
We
Say
did.
it, or let's see if it's right.
Oh, that's right. The Exodus from Egypt. That's right. Oh, good. Oh, well,
If it's about, it's about.
okay, that's a good point. Yes, and which this year is not Shabbat. Also, here's one. Did you know this one? Persume Nisa, like on Purim, publicizing the miracles. That's also one of the mitzvahs we do when we make Kiddush for the 4 cups, for Kiddush at the Seder. Here's another question. Karpas. You guys know about karpas? What's karpas?
It's when the card back.
Oh, that's right.
Well, first of all, you have to dip.
Dip what?
You have to dip, well, I personally do celery.
Balsamic vinegar.
Right.
Also, there's that, like, a comedian
Adama what?
into
Into chocolate.
Yeah.
What do you use in your family?
We use parsley.
Parsley. Anyone else use parsley? Could you, yeah, you use?
We also have it at the table, but like no one really knows why we have it at the table.
We don't know what to do with it. Could you use a cucumber?
A cucumber?
Yeah.
No, is it like a can of seed?
Paige says, yeah.
I just made up that rule.
I've
Pancake
heard you
seeds?
can use strawberries and chocolate. I've heard
What?
that you could do French fries and gravy. I've heard it's
What?
another taco. Could totally be
Oh,
wrong.
we need to take
Oh, I got a great karpas story.
1 second. So the answer is you could use a cucumber, yes. What's your carpus story?
So we do potatoes and salt water. And so one year, my cousin, he's like, oh wow, these potatoes this year, they're really, really good. What'd you do to them? Yeah, he asked my mom, what'd you do to make them? She says,
Yes.
I boiled them. We're all cracking up. That's the most Ashkenazi thing we've ever heard.
Boiled potato.
Boiled potato, amazing.
Yes. I forgot that.
I did
Yeah.
my mom's.
Is karpas like something bitter? What is the
Enough.
translation?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. What in the world does the word carpus even mean?
I mean celery.
Is it celery? Karpas is, right, Kadesh, we make Kiddush. Urchatz, we wash our hands, no blessing, right? Karpas, we take the vegetable. People use celery, we heard people use parsley. Many people use a boiled potato, as is mentioned. Some people use an onion. That's more of people from like a Russian background often use an onion or a boiled potato. Why? Because that's what they had. Kartoshka, yeah, or kartoffel. I think there's different ways to say it, right?
Because of potato.
I know, but I think some Russian dialect might say kartoffel. Maybe that's Yiddish.
Probably right.
Kartoshka. But you have to say with kartoshka. Those are the
What do you do with it?
And you dip it in salt water.
Do you remember bitterness?
The salty tears.
Right.
The bitterness is the moror, it's the bitter herbs. What do you guys use for moror? We're skipping it.
Romaine lettuce.
Romaine lettuce. Anyone else use romaine lettuce? Romaine lettuce. Romaine lettuce and horseradish.
Yeah.
Is romaine lettuce bitter?
No.
No. Why do we use it for moror? Almost the majority of people here said we use romaine. It's not bitter.
Used to be bitter back in the day, but now with the, you gotta.
Genetically modified, woke, progressive, more
I think it
romaine.
depends when you harvest it, actually. Like a younger plant is going to be sweeter. Older plants are gonna be bitter.
Then what do we use?
You would know.
What do most people use parsley for?
And this, Moti guys hit the nail on the guys. This is what it says in Shulchan Aruch, Code of Jewish Law. Brought down the following.
Cleaned up the farm. Yeah, so yeah, it's fact.
When I first learned this halacha in yeshiva, I asked my chavrusa, my study partner, who spent time as a farmer, and he validated that it was true. Romaine lettuce, especially if you harvest a young romaine lettuce, it's almost like a little bit sweet. It's very delicate, almost a little bit sweet. However, if you leave it in the ground longer, it will get harder and a little bit bitter, which it emulates this experience of slavery that we had in Egypt. It started out, and Pharaoh himself was like, guys, let's work together. Let's make bricks. It's gonna be so much fun. We'll work together. So it started out, it was kind of sweet, a little bit soft, it wasn't so bad, but it got progressively worse and progressively more and more bitter. So therefore, the sages tell us that romaine is actually the ideal maror, the ideal bitter herb, because it best expresses what our actual lived experience was. Okay, now,
Should we ensure that we have nowadays with groceries, you can't really know necessarily whether or not you have romaine lettuce that was harvested, is it earlier or later? So is there any way to like try and get one that was harvested later rather than earlier?
I don't know. There's no need to, because of the symbolism of it. It's fine either way. I guess you could next time plan in advance and plant your own little romaine lettuce patch in your backyard. Okay. Is it a mitzvah to tell the story of the Exodus? Is that a mitzvah? Yes, it is. Do we recite blessing before we do a mitzvah? Yes. Why don't we recite a blessing before doing the mitzvah of telling the story of the Exodus? Because, by the way, we don't. There is no blessing in the Haggadah. To tell the story of the Exodus. There's no such bracha. Why not? It's a mitzvah. The general rule is before you do a mitzvah, you say a bracha. Here we don't. Why not? Many reasons.
It's not over yet, we're still.
Oh, okay, good. It's not over yet. Yeah, it's like still kind of in process. Yeah.
I'm wrong about this. I mean, no, this definitely isn't true because you say bracha before reading the Torah. Never mind. I was gonna say like it's not something that you're like deriving anything from, benefit from anyway. Like physical. So, but that's wrong.
Interesting.
Also, I feel like maybe
I have some thoughts about that.
are you sure you didn't throw it in there with the kiddish? You know, so many brachas.
That's one of the answers.
Yeah.
In Kiddush, we say Zecher L'Yetzias Mitzrayim. Remember next, that's one of the answers to this question. That we do mention, we don't say a special blessing for it, but it's mentioned in the Kiddush, which is one blessing, or one, which is a blessing. That's one of the answers. We say in Kiddush, Zecher L'Yetzias Mitzrayim, in remembering the Exodus from Egypt. So that's one answer, that's a blessing. Also in the Haggadah, we say a bracha asher go'alnu, that he redeemed us. Not specifically the Exodus, and it's not specifically a bracha for telling the story, but it's a bracha that mentions the Exodus. Okay. Another answer is that it's an intellectual mitzvah. What are you actually doing? You tell the story. How much do you have to tell? How much do you have to tell? The answer is there's really almost no limit. So how do you know when you actually did the mitzvah? Did you tell the story enough? Remember the story in Bnei Brak that happened? The sages were up the whole night? Huh?
I was not.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. I want to share with you something I learned today while we're here. As the introduction to the four sons, we're skipping now all the way to the four sons. Let's talk about the four sons a little bit. Baruch hamokim baruch hu. We say, blessed is the mokom, the place, which refers to God. Baruch hu, blessed is he. Baruch shenaseh Torah l'Am Yisrael. Blessed is he who gives the Torah to the Jewish people. Baruch hu, blessed is he. How many times did we say the word Baruch in that phrase, which introduces the hint, wink, wink, four sons? Probably four. Yeah. In fact, when you count, it actually adds up to this four. Baruch hamokim baruch hu. Baruch shenaseh Torah l'Am Yisrael. Baruch hu. I got the Baruch hamokim baruch hu. No, Baruch hamokim baruch. I can't even count. Baruch shenaseh Torah l'Am Yisrael. Baruch hu. Why did I count wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 times. Baruch hamokim baruch hu. Baruch shenaseh Torah l'Am Yisrael. Baruch. Thank you. Sorry about the math, guys. I didn't do well in math.
Counting to four.
I tried to
should be done.
avoid taking math until I realized I wouldn't graduate. Or graduate, as we used to say.
Did you go to
Didn't.
College in Canada.
I did not.
So fast. So-
You say, do they have college in Canada?
Listen, you know which one you are. They're not saying they actually have to be very good and very non-New Yorker. Okay. So the introduction to the four sons is saying the word Baruch, blessed 4 times. Now, I mentioned already my favorite Sephardi, or one of my favorite Sephardi, but now I'm going to mention another one of my favorite Sephardi. I can't help it, I'm just like I'm drawn in. The Haggadah. You ever heard of the Haggadah?
Nope.
Haggadah was a giant, was a powerhouse. Chet Yud Daled Aleph stands for Chayim. Who wants to guess for Yud?
Yes.
Year.
Israel.
Yosef?
Yosef. And the Dalet is
Yeah.
David. The Aleph is his last name.
Ariel.
Alter. Good guess. That's okay. It's a good guess. Good guess, Mr. Alter. Rabbi Alter. Azulai. Chaim Yosef David Azulai. When I was in yeshiva, there was a guy, David Azulai. The Chidah, yeah, the Chidah was Moroccan. Azulai is a Moroccan name. So Chaim Yosef David Azulai Chidah was a Kabbalist. He was an expert in halacha. In fact, his halachic rulings are quoted sometimes in the Gemara and the commentaries. And he was a very prolific author. He wrote, I don't know how many books he wrote, maybe 50 books, maybe 40, maybe 60, somewhere in that range. He was a very prolific author. So he has a commentary on the Haggadah. Actually, he has more than a commentary on the Haggadah. I have here his Haggadah, and it lists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It lists 7 commentaries on the Haggadah that he has. So one of them is called Simchas Haregel, the joy of the holiday. So he says that the 4 words Baruch, the 4 times the word Baruch, blessed, appears in this introductory paragraph before the 4 sons are mentioned. It's because one Baruch corresponds to each of the children. Why? Because each child is a blessing. Each child is a blessing. Even the Rasha is also a blessing. And just like a parent would say a blessing if they had a wise child, they would also say a blessing if they had a wicked child as well. That's what he says. Every child is a blessing. Furthermore, he writes, he says, Hashem the ish, asher zocha leben chokam bo'i lo'idoi l'shabuchi al asher somim lo'i zechus leben chokam. Just like a parent would be thankful, would bless Hashem for giving him the opportunity, the merit to have a ben chacham, a wise child. So too, okay. He uses interesting terminology. So too, if the father or mother has a child who burned the food on the stove, they burned the food. He's standing in a not good place. And any direction this child turns, he messes it up. He does bad. Listen to this. The Oviv Koroloi ben Rasha. The father calls him a wicked child. You hear what I'm insinuating here? What I think the Haggadah is telling us? The father calls him a wicked child.
Doesn't mean he's actually.
He's not actually wicked. The father gives him the label.
Why?
1 second. Good. I'm glad you asked. Even such a father, he has to say a blessing as well for that. Why? Because it's his own fault. That's what the Haggadah writes. Heavy. That's heavy. Well, I'm the only parent here in the room so far, but this is a serious spiritual accounting that needs to be taken by any parent.
Well, like why specifically the father?
That was the standard, I think.
If he
The
only
father's
had one
leading the
wicked
Seder.
child, though, is it really his fault if he raised all his kids in the same household? So maybe there's some other reasons.
That's a good question. I don't have an answer to such a question.
Or did he fail to cater to that child's specific nature, so he turned it because everyone's different.
Well, you may be right. And after all, the 4 children each are given different, well, not, they're actually not actually all given different answers exactly, but we have to speak to everybody. Ba'asher hu sham, we'll speak to everybody on their level, where they are and what their needs are. And you think every kid is like the same basically, but it's not true. I mean, maybe don't do that. But when I was a young father, I kind of thought, okay, I got 1 or 2 kids now, like the 3rd one's gonna be the same. The 4th one's like, but it's, I mean, that sounds, I can't even believe I'm even saying that. It's ridiculous. But I thought the kids are kids, right? Wrong. Kids are not kids. Every kid is different. Every kid is an entire world. Every child is a blessing. Someone once asked me, this is a real question someone asked me. Religious Jews, they say sometimes have lots of kids. That happens, lots of kids, whatever. How do you have enough love for every child? It was a sincere question, by the way. The person really meant it. The person himself had 1 child. And asked, I give all my love to this 1 child. I couldn't have a 2nd child. Where would I find more love? And he was sincere, the person who asked this question. So I told him that you're right.
We talk about energy.
Right.
Trying to expand your heart.
Yeah, I told him you're right. When you have 1 child, there is no more room. So you have another one. And then it's an infinite thing. It's like the fire, where you can give from 1 fire, you could light another fire. You don't lose when you light 1 candle with another. The first candle doesn't lose fire, it gives fire to the other one and still retains all its fire. So too with the children. So Baruch, 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 blessed, 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 blessed. Each of the children, the Chacham, and the Rasha, and the Tom, and the She'ena Yodea Lishon. In some versions, it's called the T-page, the stupid child, by the way. Interestingly, yeah.
I was also gonna say, there's this idea that there's actually a 5th child, the one who didn't even come to the Seder.
Yeah.
So that makes me think about, I was always frustrated by the rush out. But like, there's also a significance to like him holding whatever feelings he has, but still being there.
Absolutely.
And it kind of signifies to me, like, in Judaism, you don't just have to be Tom, you don't just have to be Chacham. You can kind of hold, like, hopefully you should know what the Seder is about, like whatever questions or like challenges you have within Judaism, like, don't limit you if you wanna like be involved in it.
And that's a beautiful idea. I think maybe it was the Sfas Emes, I think maybe, that said a very similar point to what you said. That these are not just 4 types of children, these are 4 types of children within myself. Also, we all have different elements within ourselves and our personality. Some parts of ourselves we're more proud of, other parts we're maybe not as proud of. That's part of being a human being, right? That's part of being real. But yeah, and you're very correct to point out that there's a 5th child as well. He's the one who doesn't even make it to the Seder. Either because he doesn't know about it, literally doesn't know it's the Seder, or he doesn't care. Apathetic. The Rasha, as much as he gets bashed, he's the Rasha, he's wicked. Hey man, he's there. At least he's at the Seder. At least he cares enough to ask, to inquire, to question. You think he's a Rasha? The Chidah says that's just because you called him a Rasha. The father called, he's not really a Rasha. You called him a Rasha. But it's not really. Also, the Lubavitcher Rebbe pointed out that before each of the children, it says, in addition to saying the 4 times Baruch, it says Echad Chacham, Echad Rasha, Echad Tom, Echad. Why does it say the word Echad each time? It could just say there are 4 children. I know how to count, right? There are 4 children. The Chacham, Rasha, Tom, and She'ena Elisha. It says there's 1 wise, and there's 1 Rasha, and there's 1 simple, and there's 1 who doesn't know what to ask. And by the way, the 1 is it's the Echad and 1, and 1, and because each child has within them the oneness of God, and it's with a vav. Vav means and, they're all connected. They're all bound together. That's why the Chacham is next to the Rasha. These are, by the way, these are all derived from verses in the Torah, but they're out of order from the way the verses appear in the Torah. Because the Chacham is next to the Rasha, which has numerous messages. The Chacham, the wise son, sitting next to the Rasha at the Seder, that's the order they're in, which is a message for the Chacham. Mr. Chacham, don't be too haughty. You could become him. You could become a Rasha. That's message one. Another message is to the Chacham. What do you think you're sitting next to him for?
Wait, why are the Chacham and the Russian juxtaposed? Are they in the same spectrum? Like,
Yeah,
it
so
sounds
one
like a
answer is
personality.
exactly that. One of the answers that the commentary says, because they're really a very fine line separates them. The Rush is also very wise. She'eni the Elisha, the guy doesn't know to ask, he's not so wise. He doesn't even, can't even ask. So yeah, the Russia and the Chacham in many ways are on the same spectrum. In many ways, yes, absolutely.
It sounds like it would make more sense to say like Russia and Sadik or Chacham and
Okay,
someone who's not smart.
okay, it's a good point. It's a good point. But it's also a message to the Chacham. You can ignore the person sitting next to you. What do you think? It's random where you sit at the table? You think it's random where you show up? Who's in your classes? Who's in your social circles? You're next to someone because you are blessed with the ability to connect with that person and to share positivity and growth and connection with that person. And maybe I'll just conclude, well, no, I don't want to tell that story. Sorry, I didn't do that. Anybody have any questions before we figure out how we're going to wrap this up?
What's happening upstairs?
Zalmi has Shivas Erev where he learns on Zoom with a bunch of other shulchan kids. They learn Mishnah. They have a teacher and they learn Mishnah. And he loves it. Yeah, he does great. He really loves it. Okay, I can't think of anything else that I want to share right now in the last minute or so. So I will conclude with a little story, somewhat of a humorous story. You don't have to laugh out. Thank you. Because Pesach this year is Motzei Shabbos, which means complaining that Erev Pesach is Shabbos. There are various changes in halacha. I did produce, by the way, a sheet of the halachas that are specific for this year. I'll put it on the chat later. And if anyone finds that useful, you can read it. You can ask me any questions if you have any questions about Pesach, etc. So that means that normally the fast of the firstborn, I happen to be a firstborn. I also have one. It means that the fast of the firstborn is supposed to be on Shabbos because that's Erev Pesach, but we can't fast on Shabbos. So we move it back to Friday, but we can only fast on Friday if it is the fast of the 10th of Teves, which we did this year. So therefore, we move the fast of the firstborn back to Thursday. So the common practice is we don't really fast, but we participate in a siyum. That's the prevailing custom, which means we come to shul or wherever it may be. Someone makes a siyum, they make a completion of the study of a volume of Talmud, and everyone says, Mazel Tov, then you have to. So one year, a guy shows up in shul and is carrying his infant child, a 2-3-week-old baby. They look at him and say, Maiha, what'd you bring the baby to the siyum for? So the guy says, what do you mean? He's my firstborn son. Today is the fast of the firstborn. I want him to be able to eat like everybody else. So I brought him to hear the siyum. So that people realize that they're dealing with a little bit, They said, oh, and does he understand the siyum? He understands the Talmud that they're going to complete? And the father says to them, everybody here does. So in conclusion, I wish you all a Chag Kosher V'Samech, a very happy and kosher Passover. If you'd like to sell your comments with me, you can do that. We have some handmade shmur matzah to share with you guys to enhance your seder wherever you may be. And if you have any other questions or concerns about Pesach or anything else, okay, please feel free. Call me, text me. We're not going to meet next week. No, I think it's a little too close to Pesach for me, at least. So I don't think we're going to meet. But we will resume after Pesach, this class, God willing. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for eating the food.
Sure.
And to be continued. What is last day?